What's with the demented people? Seriously, what's with the fucked up people? I I don't even know where to start today. Okay, so we've all the channels are talking about Haiti, right? This guy barbecue or biscuit or falafel or whatever the hell his name is, who's him and his gang, and they're multiple gangs and multiple like police slash military units. People are scolding me on another platform saying Haiti doesn't have a military. You know, they were supposed to disband it by the Constitution, but then they chose not to. Well, if they were supposed to and they chose not to, that means there's still some kind of military. So why are you saying there's no military? Like, you basically contradicted yourself. But yeah, the weird shit people are doing. I mean, what the hell? Hey, Loretta. Um, God, the other day, hey, Suburban, hey, Coffee, hey, Farmer. People are doing batshit things, like things even in my Gen X heyday. I was like, yeah, you shouldn't do that because that's gonna get you hurt. Like, even we knew that. And we were feral kids, right? We used to play in abandoned apartments and run across the roofs from building to building, like those one-story buildings in New York. And man, we ate shit all the time. We got stuck with nails. We got tetanus shots because we were stupid. Hey, Regional Sky Girl. Hey, All American. Hey, KP. And people are just doing weird things. It's like the Tide Pod thing, right? I told my sons at the time, because they were teenagers when that eating Tide Pods was a thing. And I said, if I catch you eating a Tide Pod, I'm going to smack you till snot comes out of your head. Like, you don't do that. I said, if you want to have fun, freeze the Tide Pods and go pelt your buddies. And I should never have said that because I was, again, my Gen X brain, because they did it. They froze Tide Pods, stuck them in 2 Ziplocs, went to practice, and started pelting their buddies. Hey, Joe, with frozen ass Tide Pods, which, by the way, hurt when you freeze them. Hey, Suburban, I used to take off to the woods in the morning and nobody worried about me as long as I had the dog. Well, yeah. And you went out and your parents were like, all right, don't go more than 2 blocks away and don't run across the boulevard because you'll get hit by a damn taxi cab. And, well, exactly, Joe. Um, yeah, I'm well, not eating the Tide Pods, but I'd rather see. My mind was like, Tide Pods are the perfect size to throw them at your friends. Technically, you're hitting them with a little block of soap, right? Don't eat the soap. Like, what? Why? That was a punishment in my generation. It was like, yeah, you said bad words, here's soap in your mouth, right? Like, a Christmas story. You didn't put Dove in your mouth. That sucked. But kids did it. But now the dementedness is not just mischief. Like, oh, and Joe, well, hell, my kids were trying to toboggan in those big Walmart tubs down the stairs, but there was a 90-degree angle at the bottom, like on the landing. So, like, how I asked them after both of them ate shit, all 3 of them were on the floor injured. And I'm like, did you not realize you cannot turn a tub? It has no wheels. And they're like, oh, we didn't think about that. We'd hop in our bikes in the morning and be gone all day. Yeah, I really think a lot of the kids, now I'm not saying there isn't such a thing as ADD, ADHD, kids who need some treatment, but I think a lot of the kids who are getting treatment now would probably benefit from running around more. Like, if you went out, I met my local bomb squad twice before my 18th birthday. Right, we used to do, God, we had, I remember in my childhood running from NYPD repeatedly. Like, we'd see the cars, we were gone, and I think the cops would turn on the lights. Like, they had no intention of chasing us physically. They're like, I'm just going to turn on the lights and the little shits will run away. And they turn on the lights, all the kids ran. Even if we were doing nothing, we could have been playing basketball. The cops showed up because someone else screwed up, and all the kids ran. It didn't matter what color you were either. My whole neighborhood was Irish and Jewish and Italian and Armenians and a few Spanish kids thrown in there. NYPD rolled up, turned on the lights. We ran. We didn't know why, just gone. We went home. We're done. The cops did it on purpose because we would run. But that was us having a blast. Hey, love and life. This, like, God, I can't even begin to describe. There are people punching old folks on the street for no reason. And you've all seen this. There's a mom in Texas. They just saw the video on another platform. The guy, some dude was being a peeping Tom, and mom number one calls the cops, right? So the cop comes, the guy runs away, cops chasing him. Another mom comes running out and tackles the guy as he's running by. I guess he didn't see her, and trips him up enough that he busts his head on the concrete, and the cops are all over him. And hey, Vision, but these people running into Target and destroying the Target. Someone else scolded me that, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Stores aren't closing because of crime. Yeah, they're closing. I'm seeing it in Texas. And in Texas, bad guys get shot and beaten. I can only imagine where people are literally afraid to defend themselves. It's like, we don't want guns because safety. Okay, so we'll protect you, but then you're not enforcing the law. So nobody's protecting anyone. All they've done is embolden the criminals. And the behavior is just terrible. I'm seeing people spit at other human beings. You know, one young lady is a professional. This is a degreed person who works. And they're like, I'm not dating for a while because she went out and I guess the guy wanted something. And she was like, yeah, I'm not that into you. Sorry. You know, it was like first date. And she was like, nope. Right. At that point, any normal man would be like, all right, well, you know, lesson learned. Clearly you're not interested. Moving on, right? Go drink with your buddies, whatever. No, he got angry and started yelling at her and then spat at her. Why would you do that? So she pepper sprayed him, which was fine. But like, who the hell teaches kids to spit at girls? Are we 5? Oh, God. And it's funny because my son's in law enforcement and he sees this stuff and he tells me, he's like, Dad, you have no idea. Like the stuff you put on YouTube, you literally have no idea what else is going on out here. And it just blows my mind. Like, and I'm not going to blame fentanyl because fentanyl makes people dopey. Like they just pass out. And I've never had a fight with a guy smoking pot because they're all chill and looking for pizza. Like there's some other, should be teaching kids how to pick up girls. Truth. Hey, Jason. Hey, Sherbear. Hey, Watchman. I just, what the hell? It's like, so somebody pointed this out to me, and I don't remember if it was my daughter or someone in my family. But we're 2024 right now. So the Rona was declared roughly almost to a month 4 years ago, like emergency here in the US. But you think about it, a 19-year-old, 20-year-old now was 16 at the time. I think people have been hiding behind computers for so long. And the sugar honey iced tea that they do behind the computer, they think it's okay to do in person. Exactly. Regional. Absolutely. Oh, and you take like Sky Girl's career, right? Working on an aircraft. The people, the behavior of people. The audio I hear. Well, mine's in military law enforcement, but he also has the bases are now making agreements with local police, so the MPs are patrolling in the areas immediately around the base like a street cop. And then if they arrest a civilian, they just call, you know, the local PD and say, hey, this asshole was you breaking into a car, and then they charge him. And they'll turn over the video evidence from the body cams later. But yeah, it's like, what the hell? Hey, Red October. And it's just weird. And then when they get a consequence, they're shocked. You know, I go to my friend whose wife was hit walking the streets of Denver, middle of the day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And a guy, they were all walking, and I asked, did this guy look like homeless? Was he like a drug addict? He said no. He had a button-up shirt and skinny jeans and low, hey dudes. Like he said he looked like my college son. And then he just backhanded my wife for no reason. And he said we started fighting and nobody helped me, but they all pulled out their cameras and then told me not to choke him because my friend grew up in a farm. And yeah, he's a country boy from another country, but he's not a skinny, weak guy. And but he's grabbing the guy in a headlock, and they're like, "You're gonna hurt him," and the guy's like, "He just punched my wife." Like, and then what's funny is the guy who just smacked his wife, he's fighting on the ground, and finally, get this, a couple from Kentucky who happened to be visiting saw what happened, and the old man ran over to help my friend, and nobody else did. None of the locals. So, folks, if you get mugged in Denver, you're screwed. The cops will be late, and the other civilians don't give a shit. They're going to videotape it so they can get likes on TikTok. I just, yeah, it is the spirit of lawlessness. Like a hey, cigar prepper. Right, criminals are not, no. Look, they were trying to normalize this. Some speaker was trying to normalize relations between adults and minors. And they're like, well, back in the ancient days, 13-year-olds got married. Yeah, back in the ancient days, you were dead by 30 from disease or illness or a snake or a damn bear ate you in the middle of your town. Like, that's not a good comparison. In the 1500s, you were lucky if you lived till you were 30. Right? So 13, 15 years old, you were middle-aged already. Think about it. We live to what, 80, 90 now if we take care of ourselves? Some folks don't, but I'm just saying. So if you live to 90, 45 years old is right in the middle, half your age, right? Middle age. Right, coffee, and it was typically 13, or a 13 and a 19-year-old or something. Every now and then, like someone would, well, I'll betroth my daughter to the rich lord, and the rich lord was older, right? Because he wanted a young wife, or he lost his wife, he needed a new wife. But right, that was, you died at 30, right? By 13 years old, you were mature back then. You know why? Because if you didn't mature, you died. You just died. And I just don't understand. So this person is saying, well, back in the day, and this is a speaker in a university, and they say, well, people have urges. Everyone has urges. Every now and then I get an urge to throw a beer can at stupid people in the street. I don't do that. You know why? It's called self-control. I don't throw eggs at people. That would be awesome. I'd love to throw eggs at dumb people. I don't do that. You know why? It's not nice. It's called, I control myself. But I have to. But these other kids, oh no, he doesn't lack self-control. No, he doesn't. He lacks consequences. And I think that, honestly, guys, that's the root of the problem. See, Joe, that's the problem. If the beer can is full, it's alcohol abuse. You've wasted the beer, but at the same time, they fly so much better when they're full, right? So it's kind of like I can crush up the empty beer can, but it doesn't fly the same. And even if you frisbee it, but I just don't understand. Right, cigar prepper, and that's the other thing. Like, think about it. A lot of women, there were no doctors. If they did a C-section, the mom died. It wasn't like today that it's a very formal, oh, we'll do a surgery and we'll make an incision and remove the children. No, it's never estimate the disconnect from reality that amphetamines or coca-based substances can induce. Well, I also think we've created an environment, and Sky Girl pointed it out, and I think a few of you have, that there are no consequences, and people have gotten away with ridiculous shit because, hey, hillbilly, behind the screen of a computer for so long that it creates new habits. And I've said this before. They say if you want to quit smoking, say, you're supposed to like chew gum and replace a better habit with a bad habit, or replace the bad habit with a better habit. And it takes you like, what, 3 months to create a new habit that becomes ingrained in your behavior, right? If you get up every day and go to the gym, the first month you feel like garbage. By the third month, you're like, okay, because it's part of your routine. I'm good, penny pinching. How have you been? But we don't, like, they get away with it, or they think they can get away with it. And so they just go out and act the fool. They act like asses. And then people like us punish them and they get a correction and they're shocked. So the guy that attacked my friend's wife was actually telling my friend, "Why are you hitting me?" And I asked my friend, was he being sarcastic? Like, was he kind of sticking it in your face? And he said, "No, Pete, I think this dude legitimately didn't register that I was hitting him because he hit my wife." Like, he couldn't compute that. By the way, they did put this guy in jail. It took them almost 12 months to give him a proper hearing date. And in the 12-month period, he assaulted 4 of the women who were business women in that same, it was like the main drag up Denver. What? Hey, Jim and Nana. What? So in the time you guys tried to decide whether or not he should go to jail, he hurt 4 more people. I promise you, if it had been a different way, if somebody hit one of my friend's wives here, and we go out as couples, right? There are 4 or 5 couples. At least half the guys I hang out with are former military guys. And then these are, oil field workers, solar panel linemen, the guys who put up the high power line. These are not wimpy guys and girls. Like, these are tough people out here. 4 or 5 guys go and throw just a fist beating, like just beat you down like a bunch of gorillas with their fists. I promise you, the individual who committed the offense will never forget the ass kicking. Even if the judge sees this beat up dude and says, okay, you get 6 months in the county, when they let him out, his bruises will still be there. Like, that would be an epic beating. And I'll bet you he will remember. I have extended family, nieces and nephews, and one was being a shit. And he was throwing stuff around, and my sons were getting agitated because my sons aren't like that. And they were teenagers at the time. And one of my boys went over and just flicked him on the back of the head, but he got him good. Like, those flicks that it makes the coconut sound on the back of the head, like thunk. And he go, "Ah! Why'd you do that?" And my son looked at his cousin and went, "That shit is not cool. If you do that again, I'm going to put my foot in your ass." I didn't say a word. That was between the cousins. I promise you that boy never did that in my house again. Ever. Because there was a consequence. He didn't beat him up. He didn't hurt him. He rung his bell a little bit, but you know what? I even know guys, hell, anybody. I learned some of my best lessons in life was either because I crashed and I ate shit, I hurt myself, I got busted, or I got a beating, right? Those negative consequences make us learn and teach us at the same time. And we've removed that. Hey, Neil. Hey, Astatine. We've removed that variable from society. So people just do the same horrendous shit and they learn nothing because nothing happens. And if you don't catch and teach when they're young, by the time you got a 24-year-old who thinks it's okay to smack a girl around on a date if she doesn't put out, you've got a problem. That's a major problem. Hell, if you've got a 6-foot-tall 18-year-old, have you seen the size of some kids nowadays? I mean, Joe Morgan's a big guy in general, but like, there's a lot of big 18-year-olds. They can physically, or 16-year-olds even, they can physically kill someone. I promise you, if they get a beating somewhere or they get a consequence, they remember, even at the most primal level of their psyche, they will remember wow, I got a bad consequence from that. I got my car taken away. I got my ass kicked. I got grounded for a month. My girlfriend left me, whatever the consequence is. Yeah. And I can't compute this. And it's funny because I'm listening to, like, my daughter is now in her mid-20s, and she said, Dad, I went out with a bunch of the girls from high school, kind of like a catch up. She said, of the 6 or 7 girls that made it, a third of them were single moms. And she said only one of them looked like she was actually a good mom. Like the other two were just a hot mess. Not that they weren't trying, they just didn't know. And every single one of them could not hold a job for more than 6 months. She said, I was like the adult in the room. And she said, afterwards, one of the girls called me and said, I need your advice on something. She's like, I haven't seen you in 5 years. What can I advise you? She said, look, any advice you give me is good because you're the only person of that whole table I trust to give me good advice. I raised mine right, I guess. But, this is what our young adults are dealing with, is even if they're put together, the kids around them are a hot mess. But, the spitting and the biting and what the hell? Why would you? Who does that? Week 2 of drunk and unemployed. I'm not a fan. You're not a fan of the drunk, the unemployed, or the combination of two? Because that doesn't sound like a good combination in general. But yeah, who does that? I don't know. If somebody spat at Vision would send Cole. Cole's a big, goofy puppy, but he weighs like 110 pounds. Cole wouldn't even have to bite him. He'd just trample him into the ground. Bentley just go flying and hit him in the crotch. By the way, I did realize corgis have a 3-foot vertical jump. I did not know that until someone jumped on the couch, stole a chicken nugget, and ran away at about 25 miles an hour in my living room. That scared the shit out of me. I've never seen a corgi do that. But yeah, so he could definitely go and bite somebody in the sack or in the hoo-ha or something. But you spit on me, you will need a dentist. Well, yeah, who spit? Yeah, and see, Vision's laughing, but it's true. If you've seen Cole's head, he's at, what is he, 10-month-old? His head's like this. Like, his head's bigger than mine. I mean, if I bunked heads with the dog, just playing with him, he'd probably give me a concussion. And, yeah, but who does that? Like, work ethic of my peers when I joined the workforce. Right, and here's Moonsprout, to your point. So I was one of those guys, they're like, hey, who wants this shit assignment? And everyone's like, I don't want a shit assignment. And we're like, we'll give you 10% raise, or we'll give you stock, or we'll give you extra vacation, or we'll give you 20 grand bonus upon completion. And you're like, well, fuck yeah, I like $20,000. You kidding me? Now, granted, I wound up crashing in a helicopter in that particular assignment, which was not a fan. 0 stars for that shit. But do not recommend crashing. But yeah, I did the hard work, the shit jobs, so I can be, I get that extra incentive. And then other people are upset, well, why'd he get it? Well, because his ass crashed in a helicopter while you were sitting there doing simple paperwork. Like, what happened? Farmer, if we misbehaved, Dad would use breading tubes on us, and that you put in the salad. Ugh. Oof, that's terrible. Saw a woman in the grocery store. This is suburban. Recently dressed in short pajamas, no bra, no house shoes. Her daughter was crying. The mother was completely ignoring her child and literally spitting is the absolute worst. Just hit me. Yeah, I know. I was raised by entrepreneurs. We work hard. Right, but the whole entrepreneurial vision is, if I take on those hard projects, if I get incentivized, I perform better and I get an incentive or I get a reward. It goes both ways. If you do dumb shit, you get a negative consequence. If you do a positive thing, you should get an incentive for that. And it seems like, what? They're upset because, I don't want to work. No, Vision, they spit on me. Hey, OG, what's going on, XNYC? Well, they can spit on me, but when I put a steel toe in their in their cojones, they'll be drooling all over the place then, because they'll be on the floor. But you wouldn't even deserve a punch at that point. I'm like, oh, we're a child, let me just kick you in the huevos and be done with you. God, I kicked one guy, Spartan kicked a guy with steel toes once because he was freaking out. And I'll tell you what, I may as well have hit him with a sledgehammer. I didn't think I kicked him that hard, but he did oof, and I mean, he hit the ground, he farted and everything. It was really bad, but he didn't mess with me again. But do what you love and the money is fun. Yeah, no kidding. May always make it look like an accident. But it's almost like we've encouraged society to accept demented behavior. It's, oh, I'm sorry, you smacked around the girl you were on a date with because she wouldn't do something to you or for you, but you're gonna get a slap on the wrist and a ticket. No, I'd be like, you know what? You're gonna go with her dad into the questioning room, and I'm gonna lock the door and put a 30-second timer. Bernie Sanders wants 32-hour work week, get paid for 40 hours of work. Bernie Sanders is senile. Yeah, Mr. I'm a communist, but I'm a millionaire who owns multiple properties, including beachfront, because, sea level's rising, so let me buy beachfront property. That guy's full of shit. Although, to be fair, he is considered go to the fetal position, trying to back attack me. Nut kicks work. Yeah, no, for sure. Wait, hold on. Please see above Pete. Hold on. My son has been spit at repeatedly, especially when in college and working retail. Called him a cracker. Spit at him for being white. Okay, so funny story. I had someone, somebody, what the hell did they, I don't remember what started, but they told me, you need to go away because we don't want you here. And I was like, so I call that person a racist, but the person wasn't white. I don't know what he was. He wasn't black either. He was something. And then the guy got mad. He had a weird accent, and he got mad at me. And he said, you can't call me that. I said, yeah, I can. So he said, why should I be afraid of you? And me being me, I was like, because I'm a Puerto Rican and I have a switchblade, which is like the most self-racist thing I could have said. And he freaked out. Oh, we don't need to do those things. And then he walked away, and I'm like, what the hell? Why would you do that? Although somebody called me racist, I popped the old zip fly salute. Nice. If anything, my dad had this phrase he told me once, because he used to make racist jokes all the time because he was a Korean War vet. And I'm like, are you racist to everyone? And he deadpan looks at me and goes, son, if you're racist to everyone, including other Puerto Ricans, you're just an asshole. Oh. That stuck with me. The rest of my freaking life, I was like, I guess if you're racist to everyone, it just makes you an asshole. I mean, because, yeah. So, so basically, Milkmaid, that's exactly what I did. I'm like, I threw the stereotype at the person, not literally, but, and the guy locked up like he didn't know what to do. There was another guy yelling at people on the street corner, and I looked at him and says, hey, we don't yell. You're going to get diarrhea, which is complete bullshit. That has nothing. And the guy got confused. He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, go watch C. Keep yelling. And I walked away. And the guy, he got real quiet for about 2 minutes, at least enough for me to walk away. I don't know if he kept yelling after. But, this shit just comes out of my head. I don't know where I come up with this stuff. I hate everyone equally. It's after I get to know you that I decide if I like you or not. Yeah, exactly. Taco benders, that's terrible. But yeah, and you know what I find the funniest thing is a lot of the new immigrants, like the ones who are really trying to fit here. Hey, Vision, you have a great night. Take care of yourself, man. They're asking me, and we have a lot of Cubans showed up in this part of Texas, and they're like, they'll be like, why does that man have no pants? ¿Por qué no tiene pantalones ese señor? And they'll be all very upset because he's like, Why do you not wear pants here? Do you not wear pants in Cuba? I said, no, he's está drogueado. You know, he's drugged up. Oh, we call the police. Yeah, call the police. The cops will run them off. They'll stick them in the stupid van and take them away. But yeah, there are a lot, there are a lot of immigrants are coming here and going, America's a little bit fucked up. Like what they thought they were going to get. And when they showed up, they're not. Joe, if you're home alone running around naked, that's all good. That's your house, man. But take care, Vision. Thank you. But yeah, like we've allowed it to be this way. Our leaders, I don't say us because none of us are happy about it, but our leaders have allowed it to be this way. And I have a theory. I'll leave you with this thought. You want to control a populace, right? You do what Stalin, Hitler, Mao, they all did the same thing. They want to try and take firearms, right? Because firearms and freedom of speech, those two things, free press, freedom of speech, and firearms makes it very hard to take over people. So what you do, you make the freedom of speech ridiculous. Fidel Trudeau, yeah, exactly. But people who are upstanding for law, they don't let you speak out. They only let the insane people speak out. Then they tell you, you don't need firearms, we'll protect you, but then they don't protect you. They actually do things to make it such that criminals are encouraged to commit crimes because they don't fear a consequence. And then they make the crime so bad that the general public, the sheep, ask and beg for protection, and the leaders say, well, we'll protect you more, but you have to give up your rights. And I think what you're seeing right now, Milkmaid, I think it's both. I think we have an element that's trying to change demographics. They've turned away a lot of Cuban immigrants, many of whom are fleeing communism, but they're bringing in people from countries that do not like our culture at all. So you would think, hey, you hate communism? Yeah, come here. But no, they're not bringing them in. They're having a hell of a time. So there's a lot. And, they're absolutely trying to change demographics. That's why you have non-citizens as cops. That's why you have non-citizens on the election boards in California. China did not have to screw up all of America. They just had to screw up one big state, and California was the easiest one to screw up. That's 35 electoral votes. That can make or break an election right there. If a Republican were to get California, he'd win the election, period, done. With the normal red and blue states, if you flip California, it's done. You just had to screw up one state. They've probably been trying to screw up California for the better part of 40 years. So, yeah, and they're no cops. So think about that, though. If I wanted to control a populace and I was a person in a leadership position, I would perpetuate this belief that you shouldn't defend yourself, we'll defend you. Then I would perpetuate more crime by not enforcing law and not letting people, who commit crimes suffer any consequence. Crime's going to take off, and then when everything's a shit show, you say, oh, we can protect you, but you have to give up some freedom. And you're seeing it right now in New York State. You have National Guard in the subways. I promise you, National Guard they can do a lot of things, but they're not a law enforcement organization unless they got a bunch of MPs from somewhere, okay? But you think about it, they defunded the police, they're not enforcing the laws, they're not allowing people to defend themselves. The crime takes off. Oh, there's too much crime in New York. We'll send the army to the streets, which is not a normal thing. The National Guard's supposed to come out in the event of a riot. It's supposed to come out in the event of a hurricane or a tornado. They're trying to normalize seeing soldiers on our streets. I'm not knocking the guardsmen, right? They're doing what they're being asked to do because problems are there. And again, Loretta's point, Haiti, there are a lot of people fleeing Haiti. But with the families, with these innocent people, you're going to get a lot of trouble. And they're not allowed to do anything. They can't even carry long rifles there. Well, Neil, then that begs the question. So all these guys military age men who've come across the border that my very leftist friends think is not true, they're like, oh no, it's blown out of proportion. Go to fucking Eagle Pass. They're right there. They're not coming in with their families. American soldiers will not willingly shoot American citizens unless there's something really bad happening, like they're rioting or raping or they're killing people. But I promise you, foreign-born troops who are inside our country will shoot the shit out of you. Another thing that concerns a lot of my friends. And where are we putting them? We're putting a lot of these folks who are here and not supposed to be here, we're putting them, where are we housing them? Schools, airports, police stations, hospitals, fire stations. Now let's think about that. If I wanted to screw up New York City, what would I do? I'd take out the police stations, the fire stations, the hospitals, and the airport. And where would you find a bunch of guns? In the police stations. I'll never forget the first day Hamas attacked Israel. The second video I saw after the shootings at the rock concert was Israeli cops trying to shoot their way back into their own police station because the Hamas guys that had snuck in went straight to the station, shot the cop that was at the desk, broke into the armory and stole a bunch of M16s, and the Israeli cops were trying to prevent them from getting out with those guns, and they succeeded, but it cost them their lives, a lot of them. But Joe, that's my point. New York's already screwed up, but look where they're putting these bad players. When I grew up, you put hands on a cop, you were screwed. They would find your ass. New York City in the last few months has lost 2,500 cops. There are about 25,000 to 30,000 cops in New York City. So they literally lost, do the math, 10% of their department has resigned in the last 6 months. That's huge. Sending strangers to police an area was a big tool of the British Empire. Right, Lee, that's a great example. Using it's the Hessians during the Revolution. Remember when Washington crossed the river on Christmas Eve, no less, is because he knew that the Hessians were mercenaries. They weren't British soldiers who thought, well, we're shooting fellow British subjects. The Hessians could give a shit. They were going to rape and kill everyone. And so Washington did the absolutely unheard of thing of going across a river on Christmas Eve and attacking them after they'd been drinking all night on the night of the Lord and Savior, because it was the only way he could defeat them in the open battlefield. And he knew it. Because he knew the Hessians would literally kill American citizens wherever they saw them because they were not British subjects and they had no allegiance. It's the same thing. Right, and Kentucky survival, you take away the qualified immunity, cops are liable for everything. They're like, fine, this is what you want. Yeah, and Joe, that's true. They did send like the Japanese immigrants, anybody who could have had sympathy for Japan did not go to the Pacific. They went to the Atlantic side. Well, left in America because their employer did not want to pay to bring them home. And Neil, that's one of the ironies. They actually became, there's a big German community in Texas. So I'm assuming those are descendants of those people were like, yeah, we're just going to stay here and like raise families. I mean, where are they going to go, you know? But it's scary stuff. But yeah, we've created an environment where we've encouraged criminals to commit more crimes. And now the solution is, oh, we'll put the military in the streets. The fact that the world's biggest police department outside of Beijing, which is NYPD, has lost control of a lot of its city, means we have done something horrendously wrong. And our leaders don't care because it serves their purposes. I'd love to see how much foreign stock Nancy Pelosi's husband has. Not her. She has to report her shit. The husband, the daughters. What is Hunter Biden's stock profile? I'm just curious. But anyway, folks, there's a lot of this insanity going on. You need to pay attention. And that makes sense, Lee. You need to pay attention to your surroundings, even if you live in the country, because you don't know who's going to show up. You can wake up one day and then there's, a house down the street. Hey, Moldy Soldier, that's been rented out to a bunch of people from out of town. So now you have a halfway house, or you have a house full of military-age men from another country magically appeared in your town. So your town could have 1,000 people, and now you have 100 whoever from wherever in your town. 10% of your population changed. And to whoever was asking me earlier, I think it was the milkmaid, to that point about changing demographics, if you change a town by 10%, you could change the elections for the next generation. I'm just saying. Honestly, there's one side right now. Now, whether you like Trump or like Biden, they're both a pain in the ass. I'd like to see someone different, but, But right now, one party that has relied heavily on minority votes is losing those minority votes in swaths, large swaths. It started when Bush got elected. He had like 45% of the Hispanic vote. They can't count on the people here being as easily manipulated, so they're trying to bring in people who don't know any better to change the election. And he could be, Trump could be the devil. We don't know. And again, it's not an endorsement of Trump or Biden, but I'm just saying the demographics have changed. You can't just look at a Spanish guy or a black guy and say they're going to vote for this guy, because it's not the case. People are informed. They're trying to learn. They're actively seeking more information and going, I'm not cool with this. I'm not going to vote for that party anymore, whatever party it is, because I don't believe in what they stand for. And it's changed the way the game's played. So now they're flooding the country with people who don't know any better, who can be convinced to vote a certain way for a generation or two. I don't know, guys, but pay attention to your surroundings. Be careful where you are. And you're going to have to be careful whether you're in a city, whether you're in the country. Just pay attention. Practice situational awareness. Where are the exits in the building? How many cashiers are there? Is there armed security? When you go in the parking lot, how many cars are next to me? Is there a creepy car next to my car? What's around me that I need to be aware of? If you noticed, I'm in this parking lot, I backed up to a wall, right? If you're going to approach me on foot or in a vehicle, you're going to have to come from 3 sides that have windows. You can't come from behind. Little things like that can make you less interesting than the next person. Not that I wish ill on someone else, but don't be the victim, because you're thinking ahead and you're acting in such a way that it's unappealing for people who want to misbehave, for this demented behavior. You become unwanted. They don't want to mess with you. You're going to be a hassle. You're going to be a problem. You're going to be loud. You might get violent with them. They don't want that. They want the easy targets. Remember, criminals are not stupid, but they will always work with an advantage in numbers and in surprise. If you take away the surprise and you disable their ability to have advantage in numbers, you become very uninterested. And Sky Girl's absolutely right. And if you're going to be in your car, lock your door. God, they grabbed a girl here in Texas. I don't know if Sky Girl read about that. had her windows down in a parking lot at night, messing with her phone. And the guy jumped into the car, and then she had a fight in her car. Close your damn windows. Lock the door. Hey, you want to break into my truck? Now go ahead, punch out the windows. I'm going to turn the car on. I'm going to drive, and you and I are going to go for a ride. By the way, there was also two old church ladies in Houston who came from one of the Methodist churches in Acres Home, which is kind of like, that's where Beyonce grew up. It's like a very impoverished area. And I don't know, the guy tried to grab the old lady's purse out of the car, and the old lady wouldn't give up the purse. So they rolled up the window on this jackass. And the old ladies drove. They took him for a ride about 3 blocks when he finally fell out. And he landed in rubble, like some kind of gravel and shit. And then the church ladies came out with those big-ass purses and proceeded to beat this guy. And they actually gave him a concussion, broke 3 ribs, because as they started beating him, more ladies came out. And there were like 5 of these old ladies with those big-ass purses beating this dude. Like, he tried to get up and run, and they managed to take him back down just from pure beating. And the cops had to run the women off so they could, like, cuff the guy. And he had cracked ribs, a concussion. He'd been kicked in the face, kicked in the crotch. They took his shoe. I don't know, somebody took his shoe and threw it away. I guess they figured, oh, you can't run with one shoe. And again, that goes back to consequences. I bet that dude will never go to a church and grab an old lady's purse again. But again, the ladies, situational awareness, everyone. And yes, the church ladies with the big hats. It was that crowd, the old church ladies in the old Methodist churches, the big hats. But they have those big purses where they keep like everything because the grandchildren are there. And so they have the tissues and the first aid. Yeah, you hit someone with a 10-pound purse. It's like getting hit with a dumbbell, but it has a handle on it. That's terrible. So anyway, they gave that guy a correction. But have that situational awareness, especially if you're traveling. Sky Girl had some great recommendations on her channel the last couple of weeks for when you're in parking lots, airports, malls, wherever you go. Because criminals think they can get away with it. They've become emboldened. So is it beer 30 yet? Not yet, but I do have beer in the fridge. I stuck there earlier. So I might go and have a beer here in a little bit. For the record, Joe Morgan, yes, I did shoot the Springfield today, and it's snappy as shit. So in case you were asking, that was another one of my wins from, I have to do a video on that pistol. Another one of my wins from one of the clay shoots, which I was not supposed to be at either. It's like when I'm the substitute is when I win things. Hey, Frank. So it's beer 30 somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. So look, you guys be safe this week and be careful out there. And again, set the precedent. Don't be the person that would have victim written on them. Be the person that they're going to look at you and go, that person's going to be a pain in the ass. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, y'all be safe out there. Be careful, pay attention, and keep doing the things. Be smart with your money and your time, because all of it's a resource. You guys be blessed. Take care, and I'll see you later on.